So tell me about the Queen Mary.
There's this one room, B340, that hadn't been open for 30 years, and allegedly they closed it down because there's multiple unexplained murders and or suicides in that room. And we're like, whoa, like, you know, if this is the first week this is open after 30 years, this is going to be an amazing like story to tell or, you know, video to film. And so we went in there trying to make something or like trying to get something. We obviously didn't really believe in that much, so we were like, all right, let's just see if it happens. If there's going to be a haunted location, it will be this. We toured around, did the whole thing, weren't getting much, and we were kind of frustrated at that point because we're like, all right, this is supposed to be the cream of the crop. This is supposed to be the big wig. Like, why can't we get something to happen? And so it was 4 o'clock in the morning at this time. We've been trying for hours of just sitting in circles, like asking out.
And we didn't
like,
have any equipment at this time. This is like the first place we ever went to, so we were just like meandering like the hallways, being like, "Is anything here?"
Yeah, like just trying to get something to happen
right.
On camera, and nothing was happening. And so we're like, fine, I guess. Let's do this. Let's just like leave. Like it's fun to tell the story. Let's just leave. And so we turn off the camera, start packing up. We start walking towards the door, and as soon as we we're about to like get out of the room, the faucet turns on like full blast for 4 seconds, and then turns back off. And we all like actually like, you know, freeze and freak out. 2 of our roommates that were there at the time like just immediately started like crying. We ran in. We were like, okay, how is that actually possible at all? Maybe that's a sign of like, it doesn't want to be filmed and it doesn't want us to leave. So maybe let's just not film this and try one more time just for the heck of it. And so that's what we did. But this time it worked. And to like the weirdest extent, we just like put away all of our cameras. We sat in the most serious tone saying like, okay guys, like before this didn't really believe, so like if this is happening, let's have something happen. And so we all sit in the dark together and we start calling out questions. And we're like, okay, like, is there anybody here? And we hear a knock. And so we're like, okay, maybe that's something.
Very faint, though. It was like a tap.
Like a tap. And so we're like, okay, let's just run with that. Can you tap more than once? And there was like 3 taps. We're like, okay, this is really weird. Like, can we start asking questions?
And how loud are you saying this? Like, is it possible that someone could have heard you from another room?
That's what we thought. So going, like, we were talking probably like this, but then there was times where we talk like really quiet. And like, we tested everything. But so what we did is we decided, let's ask questions using these taps. So we said, tap once for yes, tap anything more than once for no. We had a yes or no conversation for 35 minutes with something that we cannot explain. Mm-hmm. And we did everything because we were skeptical at this point.
Did you film any of this?
We didn't think so. But apparently one of our friends, he's like super religious, was like, hey, no matter what, the entire night he was keeping an audio recording in his pocket.
We had no idea.
We had no idea that he was doing that.
So nobody talked about it. So if there was something there, it didn't know either.
Yeah, we had no idea he had pulled that out. Like, we genuinely were like, okay, no one's filming. We even say in this audio recording, like, no one's filming. Like, this is no bullshit. Like, everyone, please, like, be serious about this. And so we had this conversation back and forth, and we tried to trick it. You know, like, we would ask questions in different manners, like, okay, is there more than one of you? Yes. And then we'd say, are you alone? And it would say no. Back and forth, trying to get this thing. And the story kept straight the entire time. Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay, come on, there could be someone, like, screwing with us. This is, like, on, you know, the news of being, like, haunted place. Yeah. Like, what's going on?
Well, what was crazy about it, too, is all the knocks, they weren't just coming from one section. That would make sense if, like, maybe something outside was, like, tapping. These knocks would be like below us and then above us to our sides. Some would be louder than other ones. We went out to the hallway a couple times and we realized that we were like the last room besides like this like utility room to our left. And obviously we had like basically that whole like floor to ourselves as well, since it was super late.
Yeah, and then like sometime in the middle we were like okay, like let's like ask a question under our breath.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like this thing does not want us to leave. And at that moment, the entire floor shook. Boom. Like, we were all like, oh my God, what was that?
You could feel the vibration in your feet.
Crashing on the ship or something. It was huge. And so we're like, okay, so this thing doesn't want us to leave. Maybe we should just like ask questions under our breath for the rest of the time, just so we know it's not some employee, it's not someone like screwing with us the entire time. So fast forward to the very end, we were like, okay, we've had a bunch of conversations. At this point, we really believe if this is truly something, I want to know something about something deeper than just yes or no questions, or just like something silly of like how many people are here. So I decided, let's ask about religion. And I ask out, is there a heaven? And it knocks 3 times, meaning no. And at that point, our 2 religious friends that were there like immediately jumped up and said, we have to leave right now.
We had no idea why.
Why? What's going on? Like, I'll tell you in the car, like, dude, like, just don't look back. Let's go. Let's leave. And so we walked out. We left. We got all the way to the car without anyone saying anything. And as soon as we got in the car, we're like, what's going on? Like, why do we have to leave? He's like, well, in the Christian religion, anything like demonic or evil is supposed to, like, basically disprove that there is a heaven in order, you know. And so what they were saying is like, we don't think this is some like spirit or something paranormal there. We think it was something that was trying to lead you away from heaven or Christianity.
Demonic territory type thing.
No, that it has a difference. And then, you know, if you want to go further and talk about the ghosts that show up, there's definitely ghosts too. Did I ever show you the picture of my ghost?
You have a picture of a ghost?
Didn't I show you that?
Did
I ever show you that, Jamie?
I don't think so.
No?
You have a ghost?
I have a ghost.
Where? Your house?
I apologize if I'm repeating myself.
I don't know if you are. I don't remember the story.
right.
But I'm.
I got one of those Nest cameras.
Oh, the Nest cameras captured a ghost?
Yeah, and I was at the Comedy Works in Denver.
And the ghost comes with you to Denver?
He opens for me. You know, you want an opener that you can trust.
Yeah.
And I got an alert on my email the first time, like if it senses movement, it alerts you. And I open it up, and there's my dog, Bella, just in the thing. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm just like, I'm in Denver, and I'm looking at my office. And I thought, wouldn't that be a cool beginning of a horror movie if you get an alert on your phone, and back at home there's a guy just staring in the camera of
Jesus
right?
Christ.
That's a good premise for a movie. So then as I'm saying that to my opening act, who wasn't a ghost, I get another alert, and then this comes up. Oh yeah, you can see it up there.
Okay. Why do you have a picture of Chris D'Elia on your wall? he's obsessed with Chris D'Elia. We just found out. Look at that, bro. That's D'Elia. Chris, keep away from Tom. Something you might not know.
I love D'Elia, but that's George Carlin.
That's a man with a wrench.
Yeah, or a man in a trench coat with an Uzi. This is 10 o'clock at night. The only people home are my wife and my daughter. This is on the 2nd floor. There is no shadow coming in the thing. It's a ghost. That's a legit
You don't think
ghost.
that's a person?
That's not a person.
For sure.
My wife is the only one in the house.
And you think that's a gun in his hand? Could be a clipboard. Maybe he's just a really annoying surveyor from the dead.
He's looking
I just
at
like a few moments of your time to fill out this report.
Did you have video of it? Was it moving or something?
No, but I have a video of another thing in the same office, which I could show you.
This is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it does seem... It seems like, you know, the light is behind him, right? Like the outside right edge of it is sort of highlighted, like there's a light behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like a gun, though.
It is weird.
So have you ever had an experience that you could say you think is probably a ghost that caused that?
Everybody in the house has had a little something.
Is your house old?
It's not old.
How old
but
is
like
it?
Poltergeist.
Right, it's over an Indian burial ground.
You never know.
Dun, dun, dun.
You never know.
So in Zach Bagans' museum, one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted object in the whole museum, I don't know if you saw it, probably did, the Devil's Rocking Chair.
Yes.
There it is.
So we
sat in
actually
it?
were able to
He gave us
sit-
permission. We were the first people besides him and his team to sit in this chair.
Yeah, so basically that was the only exhibit that he's ever had to close
Look at those girls.
down. They're terrified.
Look at their faces. Look at Look at their
So-
faces.
so
that looks
scared.
so real.
They're like, why did you bring us here?
Were
We
they
feel
with
so-
you guys?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he had to shut down that museum or that exhibit specifically because a lot of people were like complaining about, you know, getting nauseous or throwing up or something like that. It's apparently the only artifact that he had to close off in that museum. But for some reason, he was like super nice to us and was like, guys, besides me, no one's sat in that since the exorcism that had occurred on that chair. So if you guys want to, you guys can sit in it for the first time ever. And that was one of those times, like, we're down to push the limit and stuff like that. But that was one of those times that I actually, like, gather myself and be like, we can do it. Like, let's figure this out. Let's, like, not actually, like, overthink about it.
So what are you talking to? Like when you're saying you've gone too far, like you have headphones on and you have your blindfold on.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
So this is one of like our favorite experiments. It's called the Estes method. It relies on the theory that if you take away certain senses, other ones are enhanced. And so there's this thing called a spirit box that like shuffles through different radio frequencies. And what I'm doing is I'm like focusing on like whatever it says, and I can't hear the questions that Colby and
what
other
are you?
people.
You're hearing something in your ears?
Yeah, well, I'm hearing radio static basically. It's going.
Hello.
Really,
like,
really.
Every once in a while, we'll break into a radio station where it'll be like a song or something that like will be something saying or like just a word will pop out. But mostly you just hear static.
And these are like noise canceling headphones, and I can't see what they're saying. So it's basically like,
you're blindfolded. You have this thing on. It's static, and occasionally sounds come through that are words.
Correct.
And so you're just repeating those words.
Well, so I'm like watching him and I'm asking questions out, and whatever's there is supposed to use the Estes method or like use Sam basically as the vessel to
the conduit of.
So,
these.
for example, I'd be like, "Are you here right now?" And then he'd be like, "Yes, over there," or something like that.
And so you're in
there's no way
this
of him.
haunted rocking chair, and you're using this method with blindfolds on and the earplugs.
Yeah, basically to sensory deprive myself so that no matter what, I couldn't be just faking an answer and hearing what he said and say something random. So the theory is, yes, there will be other random words that happen because it's radio frequencies. However, but down to the coincidence theory, if things make sense over and over and over again to the questions that he's asking, then that is said to be more paranormal.
So what did it feel like for you to be sitting in that creepy chair?
So during that, it was a whole different world. But what was really, really interesting is, like Colby said, after doing this a lot, like it takes a lot for us to have a physical reaction. Although, yes, I was definitely terrified because of all the lore and the stories that were being told all up until this point. The guy telling us 100 times, no one has ever done this before. You're about to be the first. It's terrifying. But sitting down on that chair for the first time, I think ever, gave me a feeling of almost being paralyzed. I don't know if you've ever been like hypnotized. Have you ever been hypnotized?
Yeah.
So the feeling of being in hypnosis was almost immediate as soon as I like sat down there. Not when I was doing that like experiment, but prior to that, where I couldn't necessarily feel my legs as much. And yes, like if you gave me, like ultimatum, if you have to stand up right now or you're gonna die, I could stand up. But like if you've been under hypnosis, it's like this pressure that you probably shouldn't do this, or that your mind is being swayed to do something else. And to me, that pressure was don't stand up.
So you felt like you're under a spell.
Yeah. And like the same thing with hypnosis. Like I've been hypnotized before, and like I said, if everything in my being wanted to stand up, yeah, I can stand up, or I can not listen to like what's happening. However, if you allow yourself to like feel that, the feeling was paralyzing. And like I like run a lot, so I always like use this as an example. It felt as though within seconds of sitting down on that chair, I had run 5-10 miles. Like it felt like I was sore, and like my legs were like real, like that, like almost like sluggish feeling to like your muscles after like a big workout. That's what I felt almost immediately.
Theater ghosts are some of my favorites.
In theaters?
When you go perform in these theaters and you talk to the people, I always asked, do you have a ghost? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a little boy, I was in, where was I? Oshkosh. And there was an old theater, and the guy who runs the theater said, there's legendary, they keep talking about, there's like 3 ghosts in the thing, and they were having a cocktail party upstairs in this like cocktail lounge off the balcony, and this guy's son ran into the balcony, and he's talking with people, and he goes, I gotta go get him. And he goes in there, and the kid's leaning over the balcony, talking to the stage, having a conversation with someone. He's like, yeah, no, this is my dad. What? He wants us to go down there. Who wants us to go? That guy. He wants us to go down there. And there was no one down there.
The thought about that with little kids is that little kids have not dulled all of their senses with the pressures of the world and all the other information that we carry around in our heads and all of our ideas of what's real and what's not real, and that little kids are open more, and then they can see things. Well, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was talking about that with his son, that his son is like, I think it was Flea.
Yeah.
His son is like tuned in to spirits in a way. And then that he was looking at it was like, maybe it's that these kids are not, like maybe we all have that in us, but it's blunted by pressures and life and a lack of sleep and responsibilities and relationships and work and
fear.
Yeah, and everything. And
right.
It's just, and also, like, we define how the world is, right? We get it in our head that these are the parameters for the world.
Yeah.
This is how the world works, and that's it. And go to work and fucking button up your fucking sleeves. And,
right, this is my beliefs.
Yes, yeah.
My belief system is going to carry me through.
Yeah. I mean, this is what it is. It's a fact.
Right.
It is.
There's so many things that we've seen that are like, okay, that makes me want to inch a little closer or try it again or do it again. You know, there's that like, you know, spark of like, oh, I cannot explain how that happened.
What's the most profound one that you guys have experienced?
I mean,
besides Queen Mary?
There's both, like in like individual experiences that have been insane. Like for me, for example, I went in Texas. Actually, there was a spot called Bowers Mansion. I don't know what city it was in.
It was a small
town in Texas, and this was one of these spots where nobody has ever investigated, or it was just like a handful of people. So we were going to be like the first YouTubers to really investigate and like put it on the map. And it had to deal with like, I think it was like a murder-suicide. Some guy like killed his wife and then shot himself. And we're trying to like, especially this year and in the future, try to just put ourselves in more scary situations so it never, you know, it's always like exciting and stuff like that. And so we're trying to do like more like alone challenges and stuff and just things that like give us more fear. And so for this specific one, I had the challenge of like staying in the entire like mansion by myself. And I was on the top floor in like a room which was deemed to be like the most haunted. Apparently a guy named like Bernard had lived there like in the past and basically was like stuck in a wheelchair his entire life and stayed in that room and would like only look out the window and that's it. And he died and apparently still in the room. And so I'm up there and Sam is not even in the house. I think you were actually in the cellar. And then one of our other buddies is like across the street. And earlier, before we all did like the alone investigation, the door as we were walking down the stairs of the Bernard room closed shut. And we were all like, wait, did you guys hear that too? Was that just my imagination? We run up there, it's completely shut. And so we obviously propped it back open. But since I knew that had happened before, I was just up there like asking questions to Bernard. And I was just like, all right, Bernard, if you're really up here, why don't you slam this door right behind me like you did for us earlier? It's just me and you. Do it. And sure enough, like the door slammed right behind me. It's like right when I turned.
So you're alone in this mansion.
Yeah.
And you're talking to ghosts.
Yeah.
And you're asking the ghost to slam the door, and he slams the door.
And he slams right behind me.
And you're sitting there going, what the fuck?
Not sitting there.
Instantly.
Not sitting there.
Like I went into tears. Like, and it's all on camera. Like, I've never like gotten like super emotional like from going to these like haunted places, but it brought me to tears where I just immediately started walking. And of course, like this is our job. Like we want this stuff to happen.
Right.
But I've never had, it was almost more of like a jump scare that was startling than anything because it was right behind me.
With the haunted farmhouse, and I've got a book for you. Well, let me say that there's residual energy from the people who've lived there in the past. So you hear footsteps and voices and creaks and doors closing and that, and many people have had experiences in it. So
there's a reason why people don't want to live in a house where people were murdered.
No one was killed in that farmhouse, but many people passed there.
But even that weirds people out. But absolutely, if you have a house where people were murdered, and this is why there's laws, you have to divulge.
I had to divulge.
Did you?
It wasn't because of a murder, but when I sold our house in Los Angeles, we lived in Mama Cass's old estate on Woodrow Wilson Drive, and we sold it to Beverly D'Angelo, and she's been on the Celebrity Ghost Show talking about the spirits that were in that house.
What happens?
Jewelry will hop around on the table, shapes will be seen, you'll feel a touch in the shoulder, that kind of thing. The staff felt it. And I had an experience one night where something got into bed with me. I was alone. I don't know what went on there, but I just figured,
Sexually?
well, in my
You fucked a ghost?
I think I was being come on to there, but anyway,
This is a YouTube clip. Right now,
house,
Dan Aykroyd fucked a ghost.
Well, or it did try to come on to me, and I didn't refuse its.
So you resisted?
Wanton. You know what? I just snuggled up next to it and went to sleep.
You spooned with it.
I did. I felt a shape. I looked and saw the depression. I saw the depression in the mattress, and I felt a shape, something next to me, like felt a form next to me, and I nuggled. No, not that night. I was working on a picture and went to bed early. But
so
I was alone in the house.
You're laying alone in bed, and you're working on a film.
I'm lying there.
What film was it?
It was something that I'd been working down at Universal. I don't know, maybe Dragnet or something like that.
Okay. So you're working on Dragnet. You're lying in bed, and then there's like a weight next to you.
I feel a weight next to me. I turn and I look.
Like a person is laying in bed.
I saw the depression. There were two, yes, and there were two spirits that might have been there. Maybe Mama Cass herself, although she died in London. And then there was another guy that apparently, a rumor was he died of a drug overdose at a party, and they buried him in the hillside. Oh. And my daughter saw him walking with a little red-haired girl down the hall once, and you know, we think that he might have been there. But anyway, when we sold the house to Beverly, there was a right in the California real estate document that we had to sign. By law, you have to divulge any unusual activity in the house. So I had to sign a clause in there that said yes, at the beginning of our tenure in the house, we did have experience. Yeah.
So you have a real belief in ghosts. It's
kind
real.
of.
Kind of. Like not 100%, but you have an open mind.
I bump into them sometimes,
For real?
I think. And I don't see them, but I feel them and hear them, and I know. Go ahead. Look, the little smile. That little smile. That's why I don't. We're talking about it because we're on the Weirdness podcast. But I don't talk about it because it just doesn't get a good response.
Well, I'm trying to be open-minded. So when you bump, I believe you. You don't seem like a liar by any stretch of the imagination. But
I have a huge imagination.
I'm sure you do.
I could
You're a very
easily
creative
be
person.
tricking myself into something.
What do you feel? Like what happens?
I just bump into them. If you walk into a room, I mean, it happens maybe once a year.
Yeah.
And you walk into a room or you walk somewhere or something's going on and you just feel it. And it's very, very strong. And I talk to them. I just say mostly hotel rooms, let's just say. If I'm in a hotel room on tour and I'll either move if I don't like it, or I'll just say alone in that room, I'll be like, hi, I'm playing a show at so-and-so. I'm only here for 2 days, but I really need to get some sleep. You can come to the I tell them they can come to the show if they want.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm like, this is what I do for a living, and I try to hear and think what they do for a living.
I would be psyched if I was a ghost and I found you. I'm like, this chick's cool. She's going to invite us to a show. I don't even want to scare her. Let her sleep, man. Let her sleep. Fuck that. I got the pots and pans ready. Right. I'm ready to make a racket. Let's wake this chick up. Nah, man. Let her sleep. She's cool. Let's go to the show.
I put them on my guest list.
That's
I'm
nice.
You've got a +1.
That's nice. You don't have to reserve a seat for them. They could be everywhere. But obviously, you have an active imagination. And do you think that maybe you're mind fucking yourself at the time? When you're talking out loud, are you doing it because it's comforting? Because you enjoy it?
Probably, but if you asked me on a lie detector test whether I think I really encountered something, I'd say yes.
Whoa.
For sure. Dun, dun. I mean, there's been enough experiences in my life that it just seems like just part of future science.
There's a guy named Rupert Sheldrake. He's a scientist, and he believes that things have memory. He thinks that everything has memory. He thinks that's why people don't want to live in haunted houses, don't want to live in a house where someone died. He thinks that objects have memory.
I agree with that.
They can't express it, but that they have it.
I agree with that.
It might be. Well, we haven't.
I think it's less the object retaining it. I mean, it must be retaining something. I think it's more our psychic ability to perceive
the
past.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think it's more like you see the chair and then you can psychically feel what happened in that chair. I'm not really sure how to, you're not seeing the chair imbued with some aura. You're actually looking into the past.
Yeah. I've been here at night. See. Here's an argument for something being haunted. The comedy store in Hollywood. because it used to be Ciro's nightclub. It used to be owned by Bugsy Siegel. And apparently, the word is they killed a bunch of fucking people there.
Right.
And almost everyone that I know that works there, everyone who's managed that works there a long time, they have some weird shit happen to them. Weird shit. Like they see someone in the kitchen and they go to say something to them, they turn around, and then they turn back again, the person's gone.
Right.
Like, weird shit.
Right.
Like old friends you haven't seen in forever wandering through the hallway and they go up the stairs and then you can't find them. There's like a bunch of stories like that. Now, granted, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of drugs at the Comedy Store.
Right.
That has to be factored in.
Right.
But there's so many stories worldwide of ghosts. I don't think it's impossible I think it's possible that things leave a memory. Right? Like maybe if you hate someone so much, like you leave a memory on the space. Like
that's a stone tape theory.
Yeah. The what? Stone tape?
Yeah.
Stone tape?
Yeah.
What is
that? That the energy of a life is like left on material shit, like the bricks on the wall.
Yeah.
Or the curtain here.
Right.
You know. And that's like, I don't know if that's a stone tape theory. Don't quote me on that. Can you look up the stone tape theory for me?
Stone tape.
But because I'm friends with Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures, right?
Oh.
And it's like,
did he ever take you to a haunted house?
We did a whole episode. You should check it out.
Did you get scared?
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, man. And in his museum, so apparently there's a thing called the Dybbuk box, which is one of the most haunted items in the world, apparently. And he wanted to, so we took the glass case off of the Dybbuk box, which is in his museum in Vegas. And he thought it was a sick ass idea to put the ashes of a lady who died while she was possessed on top.
Whoa.
And then my plane almost crashed. I was in a car accident. My house got robbed and I had bite marks on my arm. And he hit the wall like I've never seen someone in fear so hard as whenever he touched it. And it's I don't know if it's someone who's dead or if it's a demon or if it's fucking something dimensional. But it's something there that goes bump in the night, I suppose. Stone tape theory, what is that?
Here it is. Haunted rocks, the stone tape theory. The stone tape theory is frequently used as a sciencey sounding quasi explanation to explain hauntings.
Okay.
Amateur
Well, that's
paranormal
fine.
investigators use the
I'm
idea
2 for 2.
to account
Am I 2
for
for
the
2?
appearances of images, sound, and apparitions that do not interact directly with people. Instead, they play out like a movie or recording.
Right.
This is the most commonly termed residual haunting. See, this is what I was saying. Like
2 for 2, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations. Nailed it. When you think about like an alien sighting, like if you saw an alien and then you never saw one again for the rest of your life,
right.
it would fuck with your memory, even if the alien was real. If a saucer emerged in front of you and then took off, that's the same thing with a ghost. Like if you saw a fucking ghost, if you walked into your basement to go get a screw for something and you turned and you saw an apparition of a woman who's like staring you down. Yeah. See, the thing about a ghost is if you saw one and if they're just real every now and then, you saw one and it was right in front of you, you're in the woods, you're going to walk your dog and you see some old man with no legs floating in